All right. Today we have Boris, and he is a performance expert, performance coach, you might say. And he's got certain fields that he's done that he's been very good at. And he might be able to serve you and help you with your company and moving your business forward, so to speak. Boris, could you take a few minutes just to give us your life journey and how you arrived to becoming a performance coach, and then go into the kind of work you've done, and maybe you have a story to tell?
Absolutely. I will do my best to share the experience that led me actually to this field. I was trained as an engineer in physics, so I have some scientific background, but I haven't spent a lot of time in science itself because it was mostly practical. But that time was a bit challenging for my country, and science was not the field that attracted people a lot. So I moved actually to industry and spent some time there. It was pretty comfortable because with scientific training, it is easy to deal
Yeah.
with data. Though at some point I understood I'm becoming a guy hiding behind the keyboard, classic IT guys that were, I wouldn't say afraid to talk to people, but somewhere close. And actually, the way I was raised was fighting the challenges I noticed. So this was a challenge, and that led me to training industry. Actually, I worked for some companies quite big as a training manager, providing soft skills and hard skills. At some point, I was headhunted by a Canadian consulting company that was doing amazing job. Their slogan actually was, and it is, connecting front line with the bottom line. And these guys were doing amazing job at establishing real connection between the head office and the front line. Because it's a common story that the headquarters guys are like brilliant minds. They are perfect at strategy. And when it comes to the front line, these guys have all the skills, everything, but the strategy doesn't matter for them a lot. And making that connection provides great results. I experienced that in many industries like manufacturing, oil and gas, chemicals, and well, I've been a performance improvement consultant for that field. And at some point, I thought that it could be useful for small businesses to benefit from the same approach because it is not rocket science. It is something that you do every day and quite naturally if you have a focus on it.
Would you say it's applied knowledge? Okay.
It's good you mentioned applied knowledge because that gap between knowledge and applied knowledge, it exists and it is huge. There are a lot of clever, educated people that are actually trapped in their daily routine. And an easy way for them to improve is to have a look at the big picture, to see the bird's view of what's going on around.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a journey in a boat on the river when you are like sticking off the pieces of wood and stones that are on your way. You cannot even imagine that a few yards away, there's a waterfall that you are approaching quite quickly. And
Yes.
unless you can see the big picture, you will get there. But it is drama actually, not the
Well,
case.
it's like a foresight of being able to see far enough ahead of the direction of whether you're going to hit a wall or go over the falls, or you have a safe passage. And adjustments have to be made all the time. So I imagine you wanting to help people has a lot to do with that.
Basically, that's a good approach to have a look ahead. Though to do that, you need to have a basic skill set, or
Great.
you need to budget your time for that look ahead moment. Unless you do that deadline for look ahead or schedule it, you will never have an opportunity to do that because there is always some stuff that is bugging you and draws your attention somewhere else.
Yes, a lot of companies are a little bit in a chaos mode. I think I can understand that where they're putting out fires all over the place. They could have to do with the personalities or the personnel of a company of just not getting along. In other words, there's friction built in. And when you have that helicopter view where you're up high enough to see everything that's going on, you can see where the falls are. You can see where a slight change will lead to success, but they're not aware of it. And that's part of being a great consultant is to see that sort of thing and guide them so that in the future, when you're not there, they are able to foresee things because you've helped them organize their time, organize their view of things so that they have an open enough mind to really know where they're going. They're not wearing blinders like a horse where they don't see. They're taking the blinders off. So you have a very important role. And because you come from that corporate world and working for large corporations and companies, you've learned some systems that can be adjusted for small business. How small of a business are you looking to work with? Could that be mom and pop or a solopreneur? Or is it a certain size, like 20 employees? What is the ideal organization that you can work with that you can deliver the best results for?
That's a very good question. Actually, I will start from mom and pop shop. I
Okay.
can use that approach for them and even for sole entrepreneur. The key point is they should know their numbers in terms of what is your revenue, what is your profit, what is your net profit and gross profit, what's the difference between them and why it exists. At that point, I can help literally any business that is not bigger than, let's say, 15 million in yearly revenue and not more than 9 people at max as the team that makes decision.
Responsibility and authority is spread out.
That doesn't matter a lot
Okay.
until we can get together and make a hands-on meeting.
Of course.
Because for bigger companies where they got more complex system and more interactions in place, I could offer some help because I have experience in that. But I will not be able to deliver quick results because I will have to spend a lot of time to analyze what's going on in a big organization. For small and medium-sized businesses, I know where to look for and what to look for and where to find it. Let's say you have 12 areas to check, and with basic questions, do you have these? Can you improve it? And how will that affect your business? I could draw an extra $100,000 in literally any profit.
Well, that is the bottom line.
Actually, many businesses are concentrated on building revenue, and that approach, I would say it's the best. When you are concentrated or focused on building profit, that's the easier way to get sustainable results.
I come out of the restaurant business 40 years ago. My first experience, the first business I built was a restaurant that had been closed down for 2 years. So it had no concept, nothing going for it. I just knew from the studies I'd done how to get it. But in the restaurant business, you feel like there's a million things that can go wrong. And you have 3 ways to control it, that being the overhead, the labor, and food costs. So everything falls into those 3 buckets. But you mentioned earlier knowing your numbers, and I have to agree with you and just say I'm 100%, maybe a 200% behind you on that. I knew with the cash flow that's coming in, how to balance and how to leverage the vendors, how to pay the employees and everything. But when it comes down to the operation, I remember a period where I knew within 2 weeks I'd be closing my doors if I didn't make a couple of changes that were just absolutely necessary. Had I not known my numbers, I would have gone down in flames. So I wanted to share that with you and to tell you my story a little bit, but really to share with the audience. So really know that you did need to get your head wrapped around your numbers and that sometimes it's on the labor side, sometimes it's an overhead. If you can bend your costs down, revenue and profit margin is going to go up, obviously. So it's not all about raising prices. It's about looking at the whole operation. So I wanted to share that with you because I've been through a little bit of experience in a small business like that. Could I ask you a question a little bit off topic here? I see the framed documents behind you, and there's quite a few. Yeah. What do some of them stand for? What have you
Well,
earned back there that's a certificate or whatnot?
basically, I have a rule for myself, not less than 2 certificates per year. That is, they are connected somehow to my professional side or hobbies. But on that wall, there are some that belongs to my daughter, which I'm quite proud of.
Very nice.
So it's just to remind that there is still some place on the wall and that should be fixed.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. The thing that I draw from that is your pride for your daughter and family is critically important to you. And That's really good to see as a father. The other thing that really got my attention is when you said 2 certificates a year. So people can feel very confident about the work you do, that you're up to date. So knowledge is up to date and you would have true wisdom because you're always studying, you're always staying on top of things. So you know your craft. People can trust you that you be the right person because you know what's happening out in the world. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I didn't want to take you off topic too much, but I couldn't pass up on asking you about those certificates and things on the wall, just what they mean to you. And thank you for that. Go ahead and continue a little bit. So what,
Sorry.
one question. What got you interested in helping small business?
Actually, two main factors. First thing, I saw that the company I was working for was like cutting operations in the region that I was working. There was an opportunity that I will be out for without any means to support my family.
Sure.
So I've been thinking of composing some methodology for small businesses for years.
This was the opportunity this was the opportunity?
Yes, because finding a big project for big company is a big deal. 3 big
Oh, yes.
in a row. When it comes to small businesses, there are a lot of potential clients around. I would call it potential clients. I would say opportunities, because they are opportunity for me, provide an opportunity for them.
Certainly. They've got a problem and you can solve it.
Yes, basically, when I assess literally any business, it takes just 45 to 60 minutes. They can see a pile of money lying on the table. It is their decision. Either they want to get those or not. I'm not to convince them like you need my services or something like that. When it comes to money or to getting through defense of business owner, there is a typical mistake I would like to share it for many consultants. They rush into someone's business and say, you need to improve this, you need to change this, and the whole business is a mess. That is not the way I would like to approach anyone. Because actually, in my life, my first meeting with the consultant was quite a funny story, because we were sitting in the training department. There were a team of 7, I would say, professionals with a huge experience in trainings. And at some point, a guy drops in saying, I'm a consultant from a famous consulting company, and now I'm going to teach you how to do your job.
Speaking with an entrepreneur, that's in the front. That's almost an insult. So that's not a place to start. And you recognize that. So what you're able to do in a 45 to 60-minute time frame is some discovery type of questions to get them to talk about their business and what the problems are. And you're looking at it from the standpoint of finding where the money's at, that you can help them see what's on the table. And then it's a matter of, I certainly can help you get there, but it's up to you. So you have a very intelligent approach to helping people. It seems to me, maybe it's because of language, that you listen more to understand people better, to understand the problem before you start talking about solutions. Because you're like that, you're way ahead of a lot of business consultants. They may have knowledge, but they don't have technique. They actually don't. If you're going in there as a bull in a china shop and saying everything's a mess, you're wagging your tail and knocking dishes off the counter yourself. So if you have an approach that, from the listening standpoint, that it's a smooth sailing and it's a great trip, the voyage that you take them on to get that money that's sitting on the table. Your approach is that. So I wanted to share that because that's what I'm picking up. And I hope the people that see this and I share your story with them get it, that you're the right guy to at least talk to. Is that a free consultation that you do just at the beginning to see if there is like a discovery call where you're discovering each other and getting to know, and you're picking up knowledge about their business and how their approach is, and then you form a response that's built on of finding where the money might be sitting on the table and then discussing how you can help them get it. That's an incredible approach, and it's all from your past experience that got you there. I commend you for that. Yeah, that's I wanted to summarize this because I felt if I can draw it out of you, I want to make sure people see from the communication side of things just how good you really are. Could you tell us a little bit about maybe a small business and what type of problem they had and how you solved it? How did it worked out? Do you have something on mind? It might be surprising you to ask for that, but you take your time. I just want to see if you have something there that you'd just like to share so people see where your heart and your mind really is.
That's a good thing you mentioned that. Actually, I would like to share my first experience with small business. It was a few years ago. At that point, I didn't have that wonderful methodology at hand or that nice software that helps me to find that solution. It was just my experience as a consultant. And actually, it was a beauty salon, and the owner, this pretty lady, she knew she's struggling, but she didn't even have the idea of where she's going, what she needs. I wouldn't call it a business owner. She created her job. That's it. And
Yeah, there's
when
a
I,
lot of people in that. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that where they bought a job. They basically purchased a job and it's not working out the way they were hoping. And how did it go?
it worked well just because, as you mentioned, I tend to listen to people. And that was an additional training I had to pass. Though at that moment she was talking about her business and I somehow interrupted her and asked, what is the cost of the customer, of one customer you are driving to yourself? I don't know. How many customers do you need to break even? I don't know.
Oh, wow.
What will improve the experience of your customer? I said, oh, that's what I know that. I need the renovation. I need to change things. I need to put it in different way. I said, why aren't you doing that? I said, I have no money. Okay, how much do you need? I don't know.
Oh, boy.
And I wouldn't say it's quite typical, but it's a common situation. When you have ideas buzzing and things that like trying to tear you apart, you will never get anywhere. I said, you know what? I will do the math for you because you got all these records. And at that point, let's work on the renovation you were talking about. How much is this part of the renovation? Is it big? No, it isn't. Can you afford it right away? Yes. Then actually we divided all the improvements in I call it bite-sized steps. And the point was not to get to the perfect state in a day or in a week. No, it was just about getting better every day. And with that approach, I cannot hear you, you muted.
That is something that she was able to follow because you made it bite size. Got it.
And that's the core of the method I use right now. We're not looking for evolution. We're looking for small improvements every day or every week. And we measure the results. If we get the results we're expecting or bad, we continue with that strategy. If not, we can always switch to another one.
That's excellent. That's being able to have a backup strategy and take it another direction. We call that pivoting, basically. Sometimes you have to change the nature of the business a little bit. So that's some brilliant thinking there. Boris, what's the best way to reach you? Would it be on LinkedIn or do you have a website, that sort of thing?
Yes, I have a website, goperform.pro, or I have a LinkedIn profile that you can always connect with me.
Very
Uh,
good. I'll get that information from you and put it on the end of our talk here. just so that people will be able to contact you easily. That's like you're pretty open and accessible to which is what people need because sometimes they're just in dire straits. They've got a problem and they haven't been addressing it. It's getting the gap is getting wider and wider between them and being profitable. And sometimes they're calling you when they're pretty far gone, and you're actually coming in as really the savior of the business. And they have high expectations and hope. And you have to listen through all their frustrations, their stories of why it's not what they think is not working. And you're trying to pull the information out so that you can get into a state of a line of, there's this kind of money on the table that I can help you get. And I have a method and a system for doing that. Is this something you would like to do? That's just as open as you can get. I love your approach on that sort of thing. I want to thank you for the time today.
Thank
I
you.
learned a lot about the type of consulting you do and how you've taken the knowledge from the corporate world when there's big money on the table, and now you and applying it in a way where it's not big money compared to corporate, but it's every dollar matters in a small business. So what you're doing is something so critical, so needed. And coaches and consultants, if you find a good one, like Boris, they'll make all the difference in the world. It could move you years ahead of where you are today in a very short time. It's not like tomorrow. It is like moving it forward, as I understand how you work. I want to thank you for the time today, Boris. I certainly would share this with people that I feel like they need to speak with you. They really do. So I want to thank you again.
Thanks, Mike.
Hopefully we'll meet. Yeah, great. And I hope we do meet again. Thank you.
Take care.